So is your friend over there some slave or something?
I told him, goodness sakes, what a runaway would run south, and that people would always be coming out in skiffs trying to take away Jim from me, saying he was a runaway. So we travel at night.
Alright. Well, you guys better go watch out for a storm.
We'll take the beds for the night. The king told us to stand well out towards the little river, and not to show light till we got ways below town. Towards the night, it began to darken up and look like rain. Heat lightning squirting around low down in the sky, leaves beginning to shiver. The Duke went down to his carpet bag and fetched up a lot of little printed bills and started reading them aloud.
The celebrated Dr. Armand de Montalban of Paris would lecture on the science of phrenology at such and such a place on the blank day of blank at 10 cents admission and furnish charts of character at 25 cents apiece. That was me. The world re-owned Shakespearean tragedian, Garrick the Younger, and Drury Lane, London. Finding water plus gold with the diving rod. Dissipating witch spells. But the historic muse is a darling. Have you ever trod the board, royalty?
No.
You shall then, before 3 days older, fall in grandeur. The first good town we come to will hire a hall and do the sword fight in Richard III, and the balcony scene in Romeo and Juliet. How does that strike you?
I'm in. Up to the hub. For anything that will pay, Bilgewater. But you see, I don't know nothing about play action. I haven't seen much of it. I was too small when my pap used to have him at the palace. Do you reckon you can learn me?
Easy.
Alright, I'm just a-freezing for something fresh anyway. Let's commence right away. So the Duke, he told him all about Romeo and who he was, and who Juliet was, and said he used to be Romeo, so the king would be Juliet. The next day we was out of copy, so we decided to go to a little horse town around 3 miles down the bend, and after dinner the Duke said he had ciphered out an idea on how to run the daylight without endangering Jim, but Jim decided to stay behind, just for his own risk. But when we got there, no one was in town. Nobody. We checked the streets, the roads, even the school was empty. All of it was empty. We found a sick Negro sunning himself in the backyard. He said everybody was at the camp meeting, 2 miles back in the woods. The king got the directions and allowed we go work on the camp meeting and go check out what was going on. So we did that.
Why? Because God
Then the preacher began to preach. He began in earnest, too. And went weaving first one side of the platform and then the other, then leaning down over in front of it with his arms and his body going all at a time, shouting his words with all his might. Every now and then he would hold up his Bible and spread it open, kind of pass it around in the way, and that, shouting. And so on, you couldn't make out what the preacher said anymore. Then next thing you know, the king got going and you could hear him over everybody. He wanted to speak to the people. So he did.
Sir, man, the audience for 1 second.
Testimony to share, son?
Yes, I do. I have a testimony to share.
All right.
All right.
Everyone, I'm a pirate and I've been looking for 30 years out in the Indian Ocean and my crew that dined out considerable last spring in a fight, and I'm home now to take out some fresh men. And thanks to goodness, I've been robbed. Yes, I've been robbed last night and put ashore off to a steamboat without a cent. And I'm glad of it. It was the blessed thing that ever happened to me. And now, I'm going to go back to the Indian Ocean as a missionary to convert the pirates into Christianity. And every time I convert one, and they thank me for it, I'm not going to say, don't you thank me. Don't give me no credit. This credit belongs to all the people of Pokesville, the camp meeting, the brothers, and the benefactors of the race, and the dear preacher here, the truest friend a pirate can ever have.
The king went all through the crowd with his hat, swabbing his eyes, blessing the people and praising them and thanking them for being so good to the poor pirates way off there. And every little while, the prettiest kind of girls, with the tears running down their cheeks, would up and ask him if they would let him kiss them, for to remember him by, and by, and by. The king lay around $87. Then we walked home afterwards, all the way home. King decided to use some of the money to print out a piece of paper. I looked at it and it said, "Runaway slave," and a reward of $200. Juke said after tonight we could run in the daytime if we wanted to, whenever we see anybody coming, and say we're off to get our reward for catching Jim. We all thought it was a pretty good idea for the most part, and there wouldn't be no trouble running the daytimes. And we also judged we could make miles enough that night to get out of reach of the powwow. We reckoned the Duke's work in the print office was going to make in that little town, then we could boom right along if we wanted to.